Welcome everybody, welcome to Hands-On with me, Christian Schiller. What is Hands-On? Hands-On, well, every week, usually on a Monday, but this week on a Wednesday, I do a live stream, you're watching that now, of trying a piece of developer technology. If you want to find out more about me, you can take a look at christianschiller.com and subscribe, say hi, leave a comment, say hello in the chat if you want to, wherever you are watching, now or later. So, what am I looking at today? Now, I have not made a secret of my dislike, or not my dislike, but my dislike of people's reliance on tools like Electron for making a desktop application. And actually what they make is kind of just a crappy web app wrapped in something that results in a fairly poor experience. And I looked at some alternatives. I've actually forgotten what I looked at. I looked at something equivalent that built kind of a Rust shim around a web technology. And I can't for the life of me remember what it was called now, but when I find it, I will put the links in the notes for comparison. And at the time, someone suggested I should take a look at, now the name is very complex to say, I want to call it Neutralino, but it's not. It's called NeutralinoJS, and it's kind of a similar concept, making a lightweight cross-platform desktop application with web technologies that you can then deliver to Mac and Linux and Windows, etc., etc. So that's what I'm going to take a look at today. I have kind of a very basic React application I will use for that, and we'll see what happens. It's not a very relevant kind of application, but it's the best I've got. This is already kind of interesting because we have build once with JavaScript, run on Linux, Windows, macOS, web, and Chrome. And Chrome. I mean Chrome OS? Not sure. A lightweight and portable desktop application development framework lets you develop lightweight cross-platform. There's a lot of lightweight here. Using JavaScript, HTML, CSS. You can extend it with any programming language via extensions IPC. Interesting. So you could do native extensions. I think this is kind of what Electron does, actually. In Electron and NWJS, this is another one that some people have mentioned, actually. You have to install Node and hundreds of dependency libraries. Embedded Chromium and Node make simple apps bloaty. But they do something different. It doesn't bundle Chromium and uses the existing web browser library in the operating system. Now, this is interesting. What could this mean? Learn it in 5 minutes. Let's jump straight into a tutorial. Oh, that's a video. Okay, I'm not going to watch a video on a video. That's going to get a bit weird. Maybe we'll go to docs. Already, this is what we've seen. Highlighted features. Native, yes. I think this is all kind of what we expect. Pre-built x64 binaries. Interesting, because I am running now on Apple Silicon, so we'll see what happens there. Let's just get into the first app, and then I will go from there afterwards. Let's get terminal going. Over there. Okay. Let's see, No, it would be helpful to spell that correct. Okay. I'm sure there was a keyboard shortcut to create a directory and change into it, but I can't for the life remember what it was. This is for a global installation. We don't want a global installation. I probably need to clear out some of my global installations, that's for sure. Enter the following command to scaffold a new app. Let's just do their example for now. So far, so good. It was like a bit of ASCII art in the terminal. Oh, so that's actually created a directory inside my directory. No worries. I didn't need to make that directory in the first place. Neu. I live in Germany. I don't know if that's intentional, that they're using the word new. There was actually a bar near where I live called Neu as well, and there was a band called Neu. I don't know if those are all intentional references. Neu run. All right, something's happening. Not massively, amazingly interesting, but something's happening. We don't really have a menu bar right now. I'm interested to see what this looks like in Activity Monitor. Here we go. It must be this, I guess. So this is running, this is running in Intel. So that would be some extra work to get that to run on Apple Silicon, I guess. But interestingly, I don't know if this is related. The networking is running on Apple Silicon. And I guess this is related as well. Not sure. That could be from something else. I had a lot of local hosts running earlier. But, oh yes, I could see it actually behind the scenes here. So there we go. So some of it is Intel and some of it is Apple Silicon. So that's a kind of minor concern, I guess. Let's carry on if there's much more here. Oh, there is. Good. Index.html. This kind of looks like a lot of this is here already. Maybe, maybe not. Let's just do it. I don't know why I don't just click that. There we go. So this is loading some extra JavaScript that we now need to add, I guess. We have some styles. This is slightly different. And we have some JavaScript that does some things. We'll figure out what in a minute, I guess. It's definitely different. There's actually a lot more going on in this example one here. Kind of almost don't want to get rid of it. That looks more interesting. But, okay. All right. And now we run it again. And it looks like we're going to get something slightly different. Hello, Chris Ward. So that is basically taking my user profile, system user profile. That was kind of what was alluded to there. It looks like we can do Web Inspector here. Yep. And this is, let me just make this a little larger. As far as I can tell, yeah, this is using, oh, hello, something went funny there. Okay, let's try that again. What I wanted to show was that I think, and this is what they said in the documentation, that this is using Safari as alluded to, not Chrome. I don't know how I can check this without having a crash again. It looks like Safari. We can just have a quick look here. But sometimes these things all look so similar, it's hard to remember. Yes, there we go. So it is running inside Safari. That's interesting. So that's where we get the performance improvements, I guess. That probably has the potential to cause some issues on with Safari, especially. Don't know. And then I wonder, like, obviously with macOS that's very definite, but with other operating systems, what's that going to be? Is Edge particularly tied to Windows? I'm not sure. And Linux? I don't know. Maybe there's some. I'm guessing there's probably some configuration we can look at here. All right, let's carry on. Let's make a build to the dist directory. So there's a zip file, and oh, look at that. It's actually built them for various outputs. This is not going to be satisfactory for Mac, for example. This needs to be packaged in a proper application to be useful. But the interesting thing to note here is, of course, the file size. Compare that to, and this is kind of what they allude to in the documentation. Let's find, I try to avoid having as many Electron applications as possible, but let's try and find like a simple one I know I have. Like this Restream chat, what I'm actually looking at the chat at the moment in is a very simple Electron application. So it's a very simple application that just renders a web application. You can see the file size for this very simple application is 143 megabytes. Whereas this is 1.8. Now, granted, this is missing some framework stuff. And I don't know whether we're going to find, because especially on macOS, you need to do all this signing and stuff like that. Let's look for that later. There's also this release thing here. I'm assuming that's just a compressed file of the same thing. Yeah. But so far, so good. I mean, that's an extra step. And obviously, if I was running this on Windows, this would probably just work. Yeah, so this is definitely running in Edge. We've got the dev tools as popped up by default. And here is the application. That actually worked pretty well. We can inspect. And this is obviously running without me running the terminal. So that actually worked pretty well. Just out of interest, let's actually quickly see. I think if I open this, things are not going to work. Well, it's not going to work as well. Yeah. It works, but yeah. I wonder if we get the same crash. You can actually see some crashing happening here, but it's still running, which is interesting. Anyway, that does work. It's just not quite right for a Mac application. I don't think I was going to quit it, which is a pain. There we go. Okay. So what should we look at next? I could try bundling in the application I was interested in bundling in, but I don't think it's going to be particularly useful, to be honest with you. I actually think this demo application is more useful because it's doing something at a system level, whereas my application is just a random React application. So let's maybe have a look at some of the native APIs. Let's try and add a menu, for example. A JavaScript client library. Okay, native operations via a server. So there's a bridge, I guess. Exposes its JavaScript APIs to the browser's Windows scope, and you can access them via Neutralino or Window Neutralino. Okay. We've already seen this in operation here. Client library will call the JS server with a WebSocket message once you've invoked the method. I don't see anything about menus, interestingly. Maybe it's window. Uh-oh. There we go. Set a title. Okay. So I guess we add that inside. I'm sure there's a much better way to architect all of this, but let's give this a great startup-y name, username-y. I'm sure we could charge hundreds for it. And then we could get to the title if we wanted to. Minimize, and we would have to respond to clicks or something like that. Full screen, exit full screen, show, hide, visible, focus. Interesting. Move it, set the icon, set targetable region, set size. Okay. Can we add menus? We can also do things like this, like disabling the inspector. That's probably something we want to do. I wonder if all of this has to be in the JavaScript, or can we also do it in configuration? Let's see. It sort of feel more sensical. Doesn't look like it. Maybe it's this. There's a lot of broken links here. It's a shame. Here we go. So we can actually do it here, which makes way more sense to me. Here we go. So there already is a title set. We just need to change it. With height full screen, always on top, enable inspector. Let's disable the inspector. Resizable true. Exit on process close. Yes. Great. I'm still wondering how we create a menu though. Always on top, which is an interesting concept, but we won't do it here. In the Chrome mode, we're not doing that. So that's fine. Can we add menus? Operating system. Show folder dialog, notifications. Let's add a notification just for a bit of fun to do this. Yeah, that'll do. The feeling that may not work, but we'll come back to that in a second. But I'm still not seeing anything about tray menus. Yeah, that's basically on Mac up here, on Windows, the bar down the bottom. Or is it? No, it's menu items. Oh, that's interesting. Tray icon and menu. Okay, that's a little confusing, but that's what we want. Oh, there is an icon already. Okay, good. We'll use that. About and quit. Sure. Let's run that for now, but we don't have a menu. So what did I do wrong? But I can't inspect. Okay, that worked. Still can't quit it either. What did I get wrong? Do a good old... I know it's terrible, but it's quick and easy. And just let me test something. Object. So it exists. Okay, that's good. So why do we not have it? I wonder if... no, hang on. Is that? It's up here. It's up in the... it's in the system tray. Okay, that makes sense. So it's a menu in the system tray, which... it's not quite what I want. I want an actual menu, not a menu in a system tray. That's not particularly native. Then I suggest we do a search in the docs, although I don't see a search. What else is there? We looked at app. No, this is app config stuff. Windows title and all that kind of thing. Stuff. File system, operating system, notifications, tray. That's what we just looked at. Computer. I don't think that's clipboard, debug, events. Not seeing anything for a menu. Well, I mean, it's okay, but it's not very native, in all honesty. Doesn't feel particularly native. I'm not seeing a search. Let's yes, menu. Have a look. Menu bar support. Open. All right. Okay, it kind of looks like that is not possible right now. Couldn't find anything. Other people agreeing. Feature request. Looks like someone else asked as well. Closes a duplicate. Okay, and nothing's really happened. So, I guess that's it for now. All right, I wonder about the building then. Let's have a look at that. Because that's another necessity, really, especially on macOS. Creates a portable zip. It's not really correct either. Update version, plugins. This seems to be exactly the same page. Oh, the following guides are not documented yet. That's why I'm going round and round at the same page. I just realized there's nothing there. Okay, well, let's maybe quickly check GitHub again. There's a big discussion here, but I generally think it's sort of not officially supported. Not really leading to anything satisfactory, unfortunately. So there's you would have to then do something in Xcode. But basically, if you wanted to distribute the application amongst a bunch of people who don't really know you, that's another essential step, especially on macOS. It looks like it works fine on Windows and possibly Linux, but that's a negative on macOS, unfortunately. Let's then, it's nice and it's slim. And if I was going to make something for myself, then I think it's perfectly usable. But the lack of the menu and that distribution makes it kind of difficult to distribute to other people. I'm interested in very quickly seeing if I could bundle up my dumb application. It's not really designed for this kind of use case, but let's give it a quick go. Because it has a whole bunch of other dependencies, basically. Well, this is interesting. So how do I add it to an existing application? So it gives you setup for your favorite front-end library. Okay. First, you need to create a new empty project. So change into that. And yeah, it is going to be a React. I guess that should be the name of my application, I think. What happened there? Yes. So far, I think I preferred Towery. Towery, that was it. Towery. That was the other one I tried. That one I quite liked, and video was quite popular. Pre-include HTML file and icons, so delete this because you don't need it. I'm gonna open this up in VS Code. So we have this here, which we don't need. Configure the project to support the front-end framework. First, you can set the document root with your front-end framework's build directory. Update document root. Update document root where? In the, yes, in there. Okay. It is actually called that. Now it knows where the application resource location is, missing an icon. I mean, sure. Probably the least of my concerns. Icon, where was it? Down there. Okay. Configuring NeuCli. NeuCli wants to know about the client library location and resources directory to run run and update command properly. Store client libraries in your front end. For React using the following command. Good job I'm decided to go down the React path. So it will be, resources path will be, stands for one day the world ended, by the way. In case you're wondering. Yeah, I'll explain that another time. So this seems, I don't know if this file exists. I didn't create it. So we need to run update. Okay. Let's see. Good. Yeah. Okay, good. There was some kind of copy paste fail. Excellent. Human error. Okay. Let's run update again. There we go. So that's the default React. That's good. Cool. You could run this, but you can't use native API yet since React application doesn't load the client library. Add a script tag and load the client library from your front end main HTML file. So typically that with React is in here. Like it in here. This public URL % thing. It's a bit weird, but okay. Make sure to initialize the client library from your front end application's entry point. Okay, so source index.js. Can probably put it here. Okay. Build and run again. Okay. Oh, I forgot to add a trailing changing backup, which so that didn't really save me any time. And use this. Okay. So that's just, yeah. That looks, I guess, like it worked. But I think we get the idea. This could work reasonably easily. I'd be interested now to see, with React in there, how big is this? It's actually smaller. Go figure. It's actually smaller than the last one. And I guess we can run this as a binary. Yep. Yep, as expected. I think that's probably enough for now. We can see that the project is relatively small. If we look on GitHub, yeah, it's relatively small, relatively new. So there's a small community there. I think obviously the things that are most missing would be the menus to make it kind of more native. I had a few comments in the thread there that that's not something that you often worry about with these sorts of applications, but it's something I would definitely want to do. So until that's there, I would avoid using this for anything beyond kind of a very webby experience that I just want to work kind of offline and stuff like that. Something just to easily distribute, like a game or something, maybe could work quite well, but menus are less important. And also, I guess for distribution, that lack of code signing on macOS is going to be a bit of a problem. I don't know if that's a macOS problem or a Neutralino problem, really, but it's a problem. But there are ways around it. Actually, the simplicity of getting started was pretty good, and then the distribution and the small file size is some big positives there. If I wanted to make a cross-platform, put in those very big quote marks, version of like one of my games or something like that that's built in React, then it's pretty easy. I just sort of whack it in, put the bindings that we just saw, and that's it, done. And then build and distribute. If I want to do something more desktop-y, then I'm not sure right now. So it has its uses. I don't think it's going to replace Electron yet, unfortunately. The Tauri had some very big positives, but had a lot of learning curve negatives. So I think Neutralino has its place. I would probably use it for certain use cases, and I hope they add some more native APIs soon. But generally, those things aside, a pretty good experience. It didn't really have any major problems. The only problems we had were actually mostly caused by me, which is not that uncommon. So if you enjoyed that video, you can find more, much more, including Tauri, if you want to go back and look on a similar theme, at christianschiller.com or wherever you happen to be watching this. And I will be back next week. I'm going to be looking at something slightly different. I'm going to be looking at, so many of you who have seen me do my kind of tech writing content know that I love using Visual Studio Code with a bunch of kind of markdown and language linting tools, some of which I kind of work on myself, like Veil, for example. But there are some other options, and one of them that is emerging is actually from JetBrains. There is a new plugin they have in beta that they're actually leading towards kind of a proper tool release. That's for IntelliJ compatible tools, and this is called Grazy, and it's a kind of language checker, linter, terminology, dictionary holder, archive thing. Basically, a tech writing, the underpinnings of a tech writing toolkit for IntelliJ-based development tools. So I'm going to be looking at that next week. Until then, for those who did join me, thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next week.